Hello, everyone. My name is Antonio. I'm a front-end developer here at Pipedrive. And today I'm going to talk to you a bit about Electron JS. So today the agenda basically is give some examples about the companies who use Electron, the advantages and disadvantages of using it, how it internally works, just a quick view. Talk about its out of the box features, and what it takes to get started developing desktop apps with web technology. So what's Electron? Probably you have already heard of it. Electron was created by GitHub. It's a library basically that empowers the developer to create native desktop applications with the web technology that developers already use. It's very simple. If you can build a web app, you should be able to port it to the desktop with relative ease. Some real world usage. Basically, everyone probably uses Slack. Slack is a heavy user of Electron. Visual Code, which is our favorite code editor, probably, at least for me it is. WhatsApp for desktop, they all use Electron to port their web app to the desktop. Of course, except the Visual Code, which doesn't have a web app. So under the hood, the way Electron works, it's basically with three major players. It runs under the Node. It has the Chromium browser that powers all the visual part of the graphic user's interface. And it uses a small component of C++ for native functionality that needs to be developed for the app. Specifically, almost 99% of the app is made of fully JavaScript, either with the Node or some other Node package, and specific native functionality that needs to run for the app. It's primarily developed with C++. Because it's easier and more sustainable and faster to maintain and implement. But other than that, Node.js already allows the user to access some native functionalities of the host machine, except, for example, accessing peripheral devices and other local hardware. Regarding the inner pieces and how it works internally, it basically has two big components. It's called the main process and the renderer process. The main process is basically where almost all the magic happens. It has access to all the C++ modules. It runs native functionalities like the file system, in-app functionalities like the dialogues, trace, and the app menu. And the renderer process basically is responsible for showing all the graphic user interface and have the DOM access. The main process is responsible for managing all the web pages, and it can contain one or more renderer process. But each renderer process is only responsible for its own web page that is showing at the moment. This is a quick view of how they communicate and interact with each other. So basically, to establish the communication between the main process and the renderer process, it works with an inter-process communication, which means that all the information flows between that central part, sync or async way. So in other words, every time there's the need to ask for some information to the main process, the renderer asks the main process, please give me certain information, and it responds to the renderer process with that set information in order to show it in the app in the Chromium view itself. Going into the advantages, the good parts of Electron.js, apart from being a cross-platform library, and it allows to develop it for Windows, Linux, and Mac straight away, distribute for these three platforms. It has out-of-the-box features like access to the webcam, microphone, the usage of dialogues, push notifications, drag and drop, and it has a small component already pre-made. That's the menu bar. It doesn't have, for example, out-of-the-box clipboard, but we can easily program the events, and it's pretty straightforward. They have it in the documentation also. These four features, at least for me, are the ones that I most like. Specifically the notifications, because they are the normal HTML5 notification API, and they run with the look and feel of the native Windows or Mac or Linux UI. The online and offline event detection is pretty useful, because since we're developing a desktop app, it should, at least in my opinion, have a few functionalities that should work in an offline environment. So imagine you're on a plane, it should at least show a message to the user, hey, you don't have a Wi-Fi connection, or you're not online, please log in, or have other kind of functionality available in offline mode. And it uses the HTML5 API for that with a navigator online attribute. Regarding the drag and drop, besides doing the normal stuff, it also allows to bring and drag stuff from the web into the desktop app, which is pretty cool. And probably one of the best things is the way it self-updates. For example, we all know Spotify, and Spotify, in order to update, it prompts the user saying, hey, there's a new update, click here and restart it. With Electron, for example, and of course I'm comparing two different worlds, but with Electron, for example, it has a model called the auto updater, which is developed by the Electron team by itself, and it silently updates the app. So basically, developers push changes, it detects the changes, and the app itself and silently updates. The not so good parts. The not so good parts are basically how it handles memory and space, file size. And although the file size is not the biggest concern, the memory usage can be. So we all have these, at least, I don't know, I have Slack, I have WhatsApp, I have Visual Code, I have Git Kraken, and I still have Hyper Terminal, which are all done with JavaScript, and they can be very memory hungry. And the way that Electron tries to fight that is by keeping its project at least minimal in terms of the base features. In a specific case for Chromium, instead of being used by its full capacity, it's the Electron team is only using the rendering library only. So file size, it's good. And regarding, for example, the memory usage, they also have tweaked the core project a lot in order to keep it light and keep their processes running low, let's say. Security-wise, it's a JavaScript app, so basically it's up to the developer to have extra careful with what it packages inside regarding node models and how the coding practices are implemented in the project itself. So, for example, from the Electron app itself, they try to keep their Node version and Chromium version always up to date, not bleeding edge versions, but at least from one version to another. Prior to 1 month, they will update their Chromium version and Node version. And regarding our code itself, these are some of the most important key points to keep in mind. So always evaluate the npm dependencies. It's very important to know what packages we're installing. Limit the navigation is specifically important because although we should give the user the power to have options to navigate in the menu bar, have clipboard and stuff, it can also be exploited, and we should limit it somehow. And regarding the coding practices, at least have some cross-site scripting preoccupations in mind. And I've put a link there, which is a big and massive checklist that the guys have in the documentation page, and you can check it. But these are the key points. So, how does one get started in this world? It's very simple, actually. You only need 3 files, basically: a package.json to bootstrap everything, a main.js where all your Node code will live, and an index.html, any HTML file that will be the view part of the app itself. Other than that, there's a lot of boilerplate projects. The ones that are most used are these 2. And I specifically like and have used the Electron React boilerplate because it already brings React. It's even faster to develop. And it also brings React Loader, which is very cool, React Router. And besides these 2, there's also some other resources available. This is all in the Electron's GitHub page that everyone can use and search for boilerplates and some please to use it. And that's it. Thank you.